Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Today, a decision in Washington, D.C. is echoing across the globe. In the heart of the nation's capital, a ruling has been handed down that is sending shockwaves not just through the United States but across continents and cultures. The world is watching, and the reverberations are immediate. From Tokyo to Paris, from London to Sydney, people are watching as America redefines a fundamental debate. International newsrooms are abuzz, translating the implications for their own audiences as the story unfolds in real time. This isn't just about laws and guns, it's about freedom, safety, and the places we live our lives. It's about the daily routines of millions, the sense of security in a neighborhood, and the invisible boundaries that shape our communities. The U.S. Supreme Court has delivered a landmark 6-3 decision, changing the rules for businesses and gun owners everywhere. The justices' opinions, written in careful legal language, will now be interpreted and debated in every corner of the country. For years, business owners assumed they could decide what was allowed inside their establishments. Today, that's changed. The new ruling challenges long-held assumptions, forcing shopkeepers and entrepreneurs to reconsider how they protect their customers and themselves. The ruling forces a national conversation, not just in courtrooms, but at dinner tables and community halls. It's a topic that now touches every family, every neighborhood, and every community gathering, sparking passionate discussions and difficult questions. It's a turning point in America's long, complicated relationship with guns. The nation's history is filled with moments of conflict and compromise over this issue, and today marks another chapter in that ongoing story. On one side, those who see the right to self-defense as fundamental, a core part of American identity. For them, carrying a firearm is about personal safety, empowerment, and constitutional rights. On the other, the right to control one's own property, to set the rules within one's own walls. Property owners and business leaders argue for their ability to create safe spaces on their terms, balancing rights with responsibilities. The court has drawn a new line between these principles, and the impact will be immediate. Across the nation, lawmakers, activists, and ordinary citizens are scrambling to understand what comes next. The world is watching, because what happens in America often sets a precedent far beyond its borders. Other countries are already asking, could this happen here? What lessons can be learned, and what risks might follow? We'll explore how we arrived at this moment, the history, the people, and the arguments on both sides. The path to today's decision is paved with decades of activism, legal battles, and shifting public opinion. This is a human story, about gun owners, business owners, and everyday citizens caught in the middle. It's about parents worried for their children, workers concerned for their safety, and communities searching for common ground. The debate is far from over. If anything, today's decision has only intensified the conversation, fueling new protests, new alliances, and new questions about the future. For millions, it's only just begun. The next chapter in America's story is being written right now, and its outcome will shape not only a nation, but the world. To understand today's decision, we have to trace the winding path that brought us here, a journey marked by decades of legal battles, shifting public opinion, and evolving interpretations of the Constitution. We need to look back, not just at recent years, but at the long history of how Americans have debated the right to bear arms, and how those debates have played out in courtrooms and on the streets. The journey began decades ago, as legal battles slowly reshaped the Second Amendment. Early court cases focused on whether the right to keep and bear arms was an individual right or one tied to militia service, and each decision added a new layer to the legal landscape. Over time, the debate shifted from the question of gun ownership itself to the right to carry firearms in public spaces. Lawmakers and citizens alike wrestled with where, when, and how guns could be carried outside the home. In 2022, the Supreme Court's Bruen decision marked a turning point. The court declared that people have a constitutional right to carry firearms in public for self-defense, striking down restrictive permitting schemes in states like New York. Bruen set a new, stricter standard for gun laws, requiring that any regulation must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, as understood at the time of the founding. This meant that states with strict gun laws now had to justify their regulations by pointing to examples from centuries ago, often reaching back to the 18th or 19th centuries for legal precedent. After Bruen, states like Hawaii and New York tried a new approach, banning guns on private property open to the public unless owners posted signs welcoming them. This was an attempt to balance public safety with the new constitutional standard. Gun rights advocates quickly challenged these new laws, arguing that they effectively erased the right to carry in most public places, and that such sweeping restrictions went far beyond what the Constitution allows. The legal tug-of-war escalated, with both sides presenting passionate arguments in courtrooms across the country. The stage was set for another Supreme Court showdown, as lower courts issued conflicting rulings. The central question remains: where can the right to carry a gun actually be exercised? As the nation waits for answers, the debate over the boundaries of the Second Amendment continues to shape American law and society. The case at the heart of today's decision came from Hawaii, a state known for its picturesque landscapes and unique cultural heritage. In 2023, Hawaii passed a controversial law making it illegal to carry a firearm onto private property open to the public unless the owner posted a "Guns Welcome" sign. This law meant that without such a sign, carrying a gun inside any business or public venue was considered a crime, a move that sparked intense debate across the nation. Hawaii's government argued this protected property rights, allowing owners to have more control over who and what entered their premises. They believed it was a necessary measure to ensure safety and respect for private property, especially in a state with a strong sense of community and local values. However, gun rights groups saw it as a clever attempt to undermine the Bruen decision, effectively making most businesses gun-free zones by default. They argued that the right to carry a firearm shouldn't vanish when entering a coffee shop, a retail store, or any other public place. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld Hawaii's law, siding with property rights and emphasizing the importance of allowing business owners to make decisions about their own premises. But this ruling deepened divisions among lower courts, making Supreme Court intervention inevitable. The legal landscape was now more fragmented than ever. The central question was clear: can states presume guns are banned in all businesses unless owners explicitly say otherwise? The stakes were high, balancing the right to self-defense with the right to control private property, a fundamental aspect of American life. The Supreme Court now had to decide, weighing the arguments from both sides and considering the broader implications for the nation. As the nation waited for an answer, the debate over gun rights and property rights continued to rage, reflecting deep-seated values and concerns within American society. On November 12, 2025, the Supreme Court struck down Hawaii's law in a 6-3 decision. The majority ruled that states cannot presume firearms are banned on private property open to the public. Similar laws in California, New York, and other states were instantly invalidated. Gun rights groups celebrated. Gun control advocates warned of new dangers. The White House called the decision a step backward for public safety, while Republicans praised it as a defense of constitutional rights. The ruling has thrown the country into uncertainty, raising questions for business owners and citizens alike. The court split mirrors the nation's deep divide over guns. Justice Clarence Thomas, writing for the majority, declared the right to carry a firearm for self-defense is not a second-class right. The court said states can't impose a default ban on guns in public businesses. Doing so turns the Second Amendment into a right by invitation only. The majority found no historical tradition of banning guns from all shops and public spaces. However, individual business owners can still ban guns by posting clear signage. The default has shifted. Guns are now allowed unless a business says otherwise. This puts the burden on millions of business owners to take a public stance. The court ruled that property rights can't be used by the state to nullify a constitutional right. The Second Amendment now follows people into the public marketplace. The court's 3 liberal justices issued a sharp dissent, warning of dire consequences. They argued the majority created a new right to carry a gun into any private business open to the public. The dissent said this forces business owners into a dangerous choice: accept guns or risk backlash. They pointed to a tradition of property owners setting their own rules, including banning weapons. The dissent warned the ruling could lead to chaos, fear, and more violence in everyday places. Small businesses, they argued, are now caught in the political crossfire. The dissent concluded, the court's decision will be measured in lives, not legal briefs. The Supreme Court's decision is a shockwave, reshaping daily life in America. 5 states must immediately stop enforcing their restrictions on carrying guns in businesses. Gun owners now have a presumptive right to carry into most businesses, unless a sign says otherwise. Businesses face a tough choice: post signs and risk backlash, or allow guns and risk safety concerns. The economic and political fallout will be significant, turning the marketplace into a new front in the culture wars. The ruling sets a powerful precedent, making future gun regulations harder to pass. Gun rights advocates may now challenge bans in parks, on transit, or at events. The ripple effects will touch nearly every aspect of public life. To make sense of the ruling, we spoke with constitutional law expert Professor David French. He explains, the court chose to give the benefit of the doubt to the constitutional right, not the property owner. The majority said the government can't declare most public spaces off-limits to a constitutional right. The dissent argued property rights should come first. Owners shouldn't have to take a public stand to keep guns out. The decision puts two core American values on a collision course. The law is settled, but the social conflict is just beginning. The debate over guns in public life is about to become much more visible. Today's Supreme Court decision is a moment of profound change for America. The legal arguments are over, but the national conversation is just beginning. The questions now belong to every citizen. What does safety mean to you? Where should the line be drawn? This decision will deepen divisions and force tough choices, but it's also an opportunity. It's a chance to talk, listen, and seek common ground. The court has set the rules, but it's up to the people to decide how to move forward. Will we choose anger and division, or understanding and civil discourse? Your voice matters. Learn what this means for your community. The future of this debate will be shaped by conversations across the country. The Supreme Court has spoken. Now, it's your turn.